Have you ever come across something that, when you first discover it, it piques your interest? To the point where you research it yourself, building up your knowledge in hopes that one day you'll be able to share it with the world? But you get swept up in work or school or just life, and whatever passion you once had for that something fades away. But it never leaves you. Sitting at the back of your mind is something, and who knows, one day you could just be watching YouTube and find a video distantly, if not completely unrelated to the topic you were so possessed about. But your mind ticks over and suddenly you remember it. That something floods your brain, overtaking every thought you have, every waking moment. You start to want more and more of that something till suddenly you're making a YouTube video about it. That something for me was Pizza-Showtime. I, like many kids growing up in the 2010s, was obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's, and that obsession never really went away from me. I grew up becoming interested in all things animatronic and practical effect. I'm not like a huge buff about it, but it's definitely a hobbyist interest of mine. I know way too much about Jim Henson's company for my own good, and I'd always find myself returning to those top 10 abandoned animatronics in Disney warehouses videos and stuff like that. So imagine my surprise when I found out about Pizza-Showtime, an animatronic novelty restaurant which opened during the years of 1980 to 1984. Similar to Chuck E. Cheese, the restaurant features a gang of animatronics, a dog named Bert Newthound, a kangaroo known as Melton Palm alongside her Joey, singing koalas with Lottie being the lead, a horse named Ned Kelly, a dingo named Ringo Dingo, and a black bear. And the best part about Pizza-Showtime is not only was it Australian, it was in Perth, and the only one of its kind in Perth. And oh boy, when you find something cool about Perth, it's more exciting than Christmas. So you take it and you run with it. When you search up Pizza-Showtime, two things will pop up. One is the Wikipedia article for the franchise. The other is a website called Worst of Perth. Now, the Wikipedia article lacks images whilst Worst of Perth has an abundance of them. From the animatronics to the workers to the parties too. There also appears to be numerous Facebook and other forum posts regarding the defunct restaurant. Even the CEO and workers of the establishment have made comments underneath the Worst of Perth website. But we'll get back to that one. What do we know? What we know, on top of what I've already told you, is that Pizza-Showtime was a family restaurant and operated out of the newly refurbished corpse of the Grand Theatre. Many people think it's at 148 Murray Street, but I'll get into that later. The establishment had numerous old-school Space Invader style games, which could also be played in exchange of tokens, as well as the animatronic stage show, of which I've already listed the performance. However, adding to this is that they'd each play a musical instrument, as well as one of the characters being specifically from Gatlinburg, Tennessee, USA, which was the Black Bear character. He'd also sing The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Paul Gregory and John Frank had creative input on the project, Gregory being the appointed manager who went on a 2-week tour of USA's audio animatronic entertainment systems. I am quoting from the Pizza-Showtime wiki, which is quoting from the Worst of Perth. On the 6th of February, 2011, Gregory wrote that he designed the animatronic characters for Pizza-Showtime based on a specific theme. It was when the builders were gutting out the inside of the old Grand Theatre, we came across some very old posters of famous stars, Greta Garbo being one of them. So the story of Pizza-Showtime developed from the fact that the old Grand Theatre never had air conditioning, only a sliding roof, opened manually by chains above the projection area. The story was born that this young projectionist assistant, who whilst watching Greta Garbo films every night, fell in love with her, and on one hot summer's night was overcome by the heat, so he climbed on to the top of the Grand Theatre and subsequently fell asleep. He stayed there for the rest of his days, hence the ghost and the sound of chains that we hear in the soundtrack. I designed the characters around this theme, with no American input whatsoever apart from the Black Bear, which I did a trade for in Gatlinburg, USA, but all the characters were built in the US under my direction. From what I'm seeing and from what I'm hearing, it appears that all of the characters kind of follow after that old grand theatre type aesthetic. However, as we'll grow to discover, we also find that there was another theme that was consistent within the theatre. The other creative input, John Frank, contributed to projects which included Walt Disney's famed Enchanted Tiki Room, specifically the Tiki Birds. Gregory has quoted that the Pizza-Showtime animatronics cost in excess of $100,000 and had more movement than any Disney character. The Worst of Perth website is seemingly where most of this information was attained, alongside numerous images that show both the band, uniform, dining hall, costume performer, and this caricature of Mr. Paul Gregory himself. It honestly feels fanciful to me that Perth, such a small place, and I mean in terms of cultural impact, not because of geography, because Perth is fucking huge, that something as cool as this existed. Like, this is really cool. And this was a genuine childhood memory for many, and I just find it really, really cool. No Mail 3-2-17. I learned at Pizza-Showtime that there was 3 certain arcade games that you chased around in a tank shooting at other tanks. This sounds like total BS, but it's totally true. That you could clock up free credits by scuffing your sneakers on the carpet, creating static electricity. Then, with a coin start, tapping the lock on the coin slot panel, you could rack up heaps of free credits. It was funny to watch all of these kids running around scuffing their feet, then fighting to get on the machine, and yeah, I was one of them. I am now going to describe a bunch of images that I have probably been showing up on the video, because I decided to annotate these things. First image I have to show you are the Pizza-Showtime tokens, which guests used to use to play the arcade cabinet. Now, the thing about these is that not only do they have the logo, but it was rumored that you could also use them at Time Zone, but I haven't followed up on it. Next is a caricature of Mr. Paul Gregory announcing his position in the company, as well as his trip to the American Audio Animatronic Studios. A title brochure cover which shows a party with guests dressed in koala-themed hats. Later we find out these are called wind cheaters. Bert Newhound on stage in the background, and a masked performer in what appears to be a wolf costume. However, on closer inspection, it seems that this is a recolor of Bert Newhound, as the costume is similar. There is a lack of other characters to dress as well. But this will not be confirmed until later in the video. A full body of the black bear minus his hat and ears, alongside the horse Ned Kelly. During his development in the studio, these photos are most likely the work-in-progress photos from when the animatronics were being built. The next is a collage piece made up of the Pizza-Showtime logo. Ned Kelly in top right, Ringo Dingo in top left, Melton Palm and her Joey in the bottom right, and the black bear with his hat and ears in the bottom left. This image shows both parties situated in booths with inbuilt Atari-style games. The kids are wearing the same koala-themed hats as seen in a previous image. In the background we can see the kitchen, which is comparable to an IKEA-style lineup. Food being displayed above the guest's head. A girl in a green and yellow jumpsuit, perhaps even gold for Australian theming, sits on top of a price counter. Here we can see the koala hats being featured as 25 cents. Alongside a label calling them wind cheaters. Next are some merchandise, such as hats with possible Pizza-Showtime logos, black bear shirts, Lottie shirts, koala-themed hats, and what appears to be a bumper sticker. On the counter we can see the balloons for 15 cents each, and logo, lollipops, and what appears to be the characters' faces on them, and giant cookies alongside stickers and bumper stickers. Inside the case we can see the previously mentioned alongside a bag with Ringo Dingo on the front. Another shot of another Pizza-Showtime token. A worn-down billboard in Mount Lawley with the remnants of a Pizza-Showtime advertisement. Whilst doing research, I found that the restaurant was listed as temporarily closed on Google, and many food joint advertisement websites still said it was an option. Some people even left reviews, but nothing substantial, mainly just, oh, the pizza was good. Other videos have been made about this pizza joint and mostly just cover what I've listed. But personally, I wanted to go further. Being as it may that I myself am from this part of Australia, I decided to take a deep dive into the state library in order to find any information regarding the joint. I thought I'd go ahead and try and identify what the possible menu of this place was. From what we know, pizza was obviously, due to the name and just pizza that has been shown in the images, alongside an eyewitness report from Sherry Ward. My mom took me here for midweek pizza. Some kind of drinks were also most definitely available as well, most likely a type of soda or even a milkshake. You can see this in this image. We can conclude that in this image it's most likely some kind of thick shake due to the fact that this is not in fact a straw but a fluoroplastic spoon. Note the flat handle. The kids also have a menu underneath them, which I cannot make out. I cannot identify exactly what is shown in the overhead food displays, however, there is hot racks and what appears to be toaster machines, so one can obviously assume this is where the pizza was kept, maybe even some hot chips, and some of the above icons resemble a burger with a flag on top. An eyewitness report from Danielle Williams Organier quotes, "I remember eating the pizza and pancakes in this place, and Luke had ping pong balls on the table which he'd get in trouble for. I never knew it was here until I saw these pictures. And remember, that's where it was. Freaky loud puppet thing. We must have been young. Must have been a special outing." Which obviously adds that the puppet animatronics were loud. Craig Mole also adds to the pancake claim. "We were never allowed to go there, but the Sun Market next door was a regular. Really disappointing when you could hear the music and know that they were having pancakes and ice cream on offer, and you're eating Chinese food." Which now confirms that, as well as pancakes, ice cream was also offered there. It was clear that families also had birthday parties here, as most of the accounts come from individuals going to birthday parties or having their parties there. This also confirms that either they had cakes on demand or you could just bring your own in. According to Thanos AU on Reddit, the pizza was good. Others from Reddit, including Spambot2k, recounts the internal environment. There was a booth/table seating downstairs, and upstairs in the mezzanine, they had a cocktail table arcade machine, which my brother and I used to play for something different to Time Zone. But as some of the other peeps have said, they used their own coins/tokens for the games, which was actually worth 25 cents each, which is a bit of a rip-off as a little kid, as you'd only get 8 games out of that, instead of $2 for 10, which adds something new to the equation, as whilst yes, the Grand Theatre would have likely had a second floor, it has never been mentioned in relation to Pizza-Showtime before. This also shows that alongside similar accounts, lets us know that those prices of those tokens, were in fact a bit pricey. Whilst doing my research, I also found out who exactly worked at the establishment. Now, I'm not gonna go around naming names because that feels a bit stalkerish. It's mainly just from people who said that they had their first job there on Facebook and stuff. So I'm not gonna go into 100% accurate recounts, but I will be quoting some people from Facebook. Sally Kinnard was one of the individuals who worked there, and offers up an interesting bit of information. The staff changing rooms were the actors' changing room. Grand Theatre is still in the background. Lovely man. We can now 100% confirm that the walk-around character performer was not only a mainstay, there was more than one person playing this individual, or there was more than one character costume performer. She also accounts that, "Oh my first real job, and struggled with those animated things, but still seeing 2 koala sisters sitting in the backseat," which confirms there may have been original songs written for the anime. We also know that Gianno Mario Marriott was a prominent figure, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, within the establishment, and has set up meetings with past employees. Now, what were the shows like? In terms of performances, the show schedule, we can't confirm that so easy, but thanks to my 20-cent work on Reddit, we can at least assume that there were shows every 30 minutes, or as they quote, "I went there as a kid in the mid-70s. It was an old converted cinema in Hay Street Mall before it got turned into a mall." If I recount correctly, I don't think it lasted very long. Every 30 minutes or so, an animatronic would do a musical show. From other eyewitness reports, we can also conclude that The Devil Went Down to Georgia really was such a mainstay on the stage, alongside the kangaroo being able to sing Crocodile Rock, during which the Joey would pop up from the piano box and sing the la 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 part of the song. Now, as I was doing research, I did stumble across two pieces of information that might lead me to physical, actual, promising leads, like in the real world, that I can touch and stuff. One such lead was that somebody was trying to obtain some information regarding Pizza-Showtime for their new book, Lost in Perth Volume 2. Since some of the local libraries around me had some copies, I decided to follow up. However, when I got there and looked through the book, I couldn't find any on Pizza-Show. It was obvious that this individual wasn't able to obtain any information from any of the people working there, so it wasn't included in the book. However, I will note that the Adventure World mascot, the old one, is prominent in this book, and I think it'd be really interesting if we did some research into that one as well. Previously, that I was researching and found some information that my state library had. There was an archived piece on Pizza-Showtime. I assumed this piece would be like something small, like a newspaper clipping, or even an article if I was lucky. But man, did I hit the jackpot. Not only did the universe grant me never before shown on the internet images, but also 6 whole pages of Pizza-Showtime goodness. Entering the library was the easy part. I headed up to the 3rd floor and was greeted by a very helpful and insightful librarian, who, when I brought up the fact that I was researching Pizza-Showtime, she mentioned that she had been there as a child. Her friend next to her also remembered going, even having a friend who worked there. I asked a couple questions, but due to time, the librarians couldn't really answer me much. Only remember buying the tokens for the arcade machine. Regardless, it was information, so I was grateful. She showed me a website called Retro Maps, which helped me identify a misconception about the location of the Pizza-Showtime restaurant, one of many to come. Many have thrown around 2 locations online for Pizza-Showtime, either being 148 Murray Street, the more commonly associated of the two, or 166 Murray Street. Well, we can now 100% confirm, thanks to Retro Maps, that the Grand Theatre was located at 166 Murray Street. I think everyone knows by now that Pizza-Showtime was located exactly inside the old Grand Theatre, as numerous eyewitness reports say this, as well as Paul Gregory himself. So already I was disproving widely available information about this place. What else was I gonna discover? I had to sign up to the library in order to view the document, which was easily done, and in I went to the special archiving viewing room. It felt surreal. I was like a real academic in that room, surrounded by old-timey lights and stuff. After waiting a while, I was finally given the document, and when I opened it, I was greeted with an image that single-handedly solved one of the most common mysteries about Pizza-Showtime. Staring right at me was Bert Newhound? Or at least the grey walk-around character version of him. For a very long time, many have wondered who this guy was, and I had just found it out. Realistically, I had suspected it due to the similarities in the outfit, but this was amazing, finally being able to confirm who this mysterious character was. We see the walk-around Bert standing outside the restaurant. We can see the magazine was published in September 1981. This is around a year after opening. The entrance has an alternative logo to the ones shown previously, separating the pizza and Showtime element. We can also see a children's ride out front and what appears to be poster display cases on the outside wall. Notably, we find that Bert is wearing a different hat and has medals on his jacket. Now, I also came up with another theory, that this is not in fact Bert, but an older relative of his, who may be served in a war effort, but who knows? This might just be Bert with more character details, and grayer. We also see in big bold lettering, "There's your line." The photo is taken from under a veranda, which when looking at old photos of the Grand Theatre, we can see this would have been the front of the building. The next pages were just advertisement from Leisure and Allied Industries, and provide no further information regarding Pizza-Showtime. However, I would put them up on the screen if anyone wants to take a look. Now, the following page is where it gets good. This page not only featured an adorable depiction of Bert, but a full-on date of opening, menu description, show schedule, inner working of the animatronic, and drawings of the koala system. This was my saving grace. The page to end all pages. I was literally kicking my feet in my seat. I was so happy. I will now go over the information that was brought. From this, we can now officially conclude that the opening date of the location was July 30th, 1980. The number of guests invited to the opening, 600, may seem shocking, but remember, this was used as the old Grand Cinema, so it could house a fair amount of people. We now know that the main songs sung were Dixieland jazz-style show tunes, which line up with the Crocodile Rock statement, as well as The Devil Went Down to Georgia from The Bear. The imaginary setting of the location is a Hansel and Gretel Fantasyland type forest, a far cry from the original theme suggested by Paul Gregory, but it does kind of fit in a weird kind of amalgamation way. Already, towards the beginning of its life, it was being compared to Disneyland. The restaurant could house a large amount of people, which have the opportunity to either use the regular seating tables or the arcade table cabinet, which was an equal split. Now, a personal goal of mine was to find out the restaurant's menu. I earlier speculated on exactly exactly what the menu had to offer. Now I can finally find out what they had. I was wrong about my burger assumption. Most likely the display icon I was referring to was actually a submarine sandwich, which the document says they had. Something that shocked me was actually that they offered Mexican food, which felt odd for a pizza restaurant, but who am I to judge? It was the 80s, man. I was right about the soft drink, and the thick shakes slash milkshakes were also served there, as well as beer and wine, which is absolutely also bizarre to me, as, you know, it's wine and beer, and you're serving that at a family establishment, but at the same time, it's like my ice rink does the same thing, so it's not that far off. I'd also like to point out that the $15 to feed a family of 5 feels like a dream, let alone mentioning that anyone having a family of 5 nowadays with the cost of living? Jeez Louise! The animatronics use Lycomatic audio animatronic. Doing further research, I tried to find out what Lycomatic was, but to no avail. It's clear that there's no recorded use of the word on Google, so I can't really find out what that animatronic type was. But I'm assuming, since the creatives behind it worked on the Enchanted Tiki Room, that it was gonna probably be similar. The animatronics are run on an automatic system with entertainment from 1 AM, which I'm assuming was actually 1 PM. They also had shows every 10 minutes that lasted 4 minutes. Now this contradicts a previous statement, but I'm gonna actually suggest that maybe there was only singing shows every 30 minutes, and every 10 minutes it was like a skit or a stage show. The computer running this system runs up to 18 individual movements for each character. There's also the Koala Sisters, which only Lottie has a name. The other two, we don't know. And now, here's something I didn't expect to find. Throughout my research online, I couldn't really find the Black Bear's name who sang Devil Went Down to Georgia, and yes, I am aware some people assumed his name was Homer, thanks to something that I'll bring up later. But I have information. This document has now confirmed that his name was Hector. Hector the Fiddling Bear. Yeah, unfortunate naming. We now find out that Ringo Dingo was not a dingo, and in fact an old sheepdog. Also, Ned Kelly was an Irish and an outlaw? I mean, pick a struggle, am I right? Also, Bert is 6 feet tall. They could perform as a group as well as individually, having a wide number of sketches and songs. The animatronics require minimal maintenance on a monthly basis, which makes sense seeing as this restaurant was meant to be an Australian-wide franchise that had an investment of excess of $1 million, which was a lot back then, if the food prices are anything to go by. I also love that it's called a shenanigan of a restaurant. The next page is the widely available image of the walk-around character costume from the back. This time we can make out things a bit better as the quality's higher and see exactly what kind of designs were on these wind cheaters. The following page spread is comparable in value to the previous Word article, as it provides so much information and never before seen images, at least on the internet. We can see 2 of the already available images being the girl and the party, this time in higher quality, are conveniently labeled for her, from left to right, top to bottom. We have Fantasyland of Fun, Food and Entertainment, the Pizza-Showtime logo, which was interrupted by a staple so I couldn't separate and see it, a real theater restaurant. General store provides a large range of merchandise and novelty items, children's creche, birthday parties and groups, 3 images of a delicious menu of pizzas, Mexican food, salads and drinks, Pizza-Showtime's game reserves, and friendly service. Now, not only do we get given 8 new images, we also get given some crucial information about the layout of the theater. During this project, I also had another personal goal, which was to figure out the layout of this restaurant. From these images, we can tell that the children's creche was located next to the game reserve. That was, in turn, located on the 2nd story of the restaurant. We can also see from the entrance lobby that there's stairs off to one side, which I'm assuming, and I believe, would make sense to be at the front of the building leading into the game reserve. If we look on retro maps, we can see that the Grand Theatre was a straight line type building, and thus would place the view of the theatre from Bert's perspective at the back, therefore the stage as well. There are also windows letting in light through the children's creche, so I'm assuming that the creche was overlooking Murray Street. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty of these photos. The first image I'll be going over is the entrance of Fantasyland of Fun, where we can see the merchandise booth, a fire exit slash staff door, stairs leading into what I'm assuming is the theatre aspect of the restaurant, and the stairs leading up to the game reserve. We can also see 2 other hallways off to either side on the floor. We also see the logo alongside the phrase, "You've never seen anything like." The hall is covered in forest-like imagery and a lovely shag carpet. Next, we have the image of a real theatre restaurant, which we see as a perspective shot from Perth, standing on the stage. I unironically love this image so much. If I could have this as a poster, I would put it up on my wall, and I'd kiss it goodnight every night, because oh my god, it's just such a well-taken photo. I love it. Here we see that the tables are split into 4 quadrants. The back 2 having the inbuilt Atari games, whilst the front tables are just regular tables. At the back, we can see the kitchen and service station. To either side, we can see 2 televisions, as well as another up on the second story, where the game reserves are, as well as a projector just at the front here. And on the wall, we can see murals of Fantasyland setting alongside a house, and oh my god, is that Ned Kelly? I was aware that Ned Kelly was positioned on the wall, but exactly where has always been a mystery, and now we know. And most likely, we can conclude that if Bert was moved out of the way a little, we'd be able to see Ringo Dingo on the other side. We have the following photo already, but now it's in a higher quality, so I really won't go over. Following over, we have children's crate, which seems to be in a small room with a bunch of toddler-sized coin rides. You can see the same kind of mural painted on the wall, as well as 3 beams to one side, which I'm assuming are windows due to the natural lighting. We then have the birthday party and group photos, which has the games on full display. Then we have, these are obviously stock images, or the images taken of the best looking, which we can see in the previous images overhead displays. Here on this pizza, we have pepperoni and olives, a salad that looks like one of those Whole Food wooden cutting boarded breakfast inspirational things, 3 tacos with tomatoes and other ingredients. Whether or not the food looked this good is up for debate, but I'm definitely ordering the tacos. I mean, the tomatoes just look so good. We don't have any images of submarine sandwich, but I'm gonna assume that it's there alongside others. We have the game reserve next, where we can see an exit sign and the children's crate alongside the windows. I'm unsure about if the reserve was used by guests, but I'm assuming it was, but the name reserves makes me unsure. Whatever the case may be, we can see that the stairs lead up to the children's crate and some nice green carpet. Finally, we have the friendly services, which shows a family ordering food at a checkout. We can see the workers don similar uniforms to the merchandise girl, however this time in different patterning. We can also see on the wall that you could get a large, medium, and regular sized pizza, but I'd also like to bring forward that you could get a mini pizza. As if we go back to the Bert perspective shot, we can see 4 dishes on the wall, not 3. Guys, I'm not insane, I swear! The final page was a meet our cast away. We see in top left Ned Kelly, then going across from top right, Ringo Dingo. We also see our lovely logo with a copyright notation 19A. Below we see Melton Palm and Joey, Bert Newhound and Hector, the fiddling bit, and below them we actually can see the 3 koalas. Koalas to either side of the body are actually the same image. I just thought that was fun. But we do know there was 2 individual other animatronics. We can also know that Melton Palm wears some kind of fingerless gloves. Bert Newhound has a bow tie. So points for all bow tie wearers. Bert Newhound's one of you. And that was it. There was no more left for me to find. I had gone through every online resource, every book I could find about them. At this point, I could only sit and wait and see if anyone else knew anything about it. I also forgot to mention that whilst wrapping up, I found another example of the Pizza-Showtime evidence for a cartoony image I found on YouTube of the gang all together, similar to how the Word article had painted them all. Pizza-Showtime was built into the existing structure of the Grand Theatre, an Edwardian-style theatre building built in 1916. The building was built by Richard Joseph Denley. I did attempt to find the floor plans for the Grand Theatre, but there wasn't much to find, although we can find that there was a main entrance which was on Murray Street, which led to a wide marble tile staircase. I'm unsure whether they kept this when renovating for Pizza-Showtime, or if they did away with it. The auditorium was 33.6 meters by 15.2, and due to the previously mentioned witness reports, there was a second story. Here is the only known photo we have where Pizza-Showtime was inhabiting the building. Following up on rumors about the place, I tried to email several individuals involved in this franchise, including LAAI and others who worked at the establishment. However, as of writing this, I haven't received anything back regarding them. I've also sent off messages on social media platforms about the restaurant and have yet to receive anything back. I tried to get some information about Pizza-Showtime from the creator himself, Paul Gregory, so I posted on the Worst of Perth forum, but also haven't received anything back, which is fine because it was a while ago, so I wouldn't expect him to keep on checking it like, you know, like I do. I also tried reaching out to the state library because they have this thing called an Ask a Librarian on the website. I haven't got anything back yet either. I also thought about emailing one of the voice actors, but he was pretty famous, so I decided to cut my losses and didn't contact him. I also wanted to try and find some merchandising of the restaurant, and yeah, there was tokens, but no one wanted to sell them to me, so what's the point? So, you know, if you have a token and are willing to offer that up or willing to part with it, I'm up for a chat. Conclusion. We finally come to the conclusion of this video. Initially going into this, I didn't expect to find more than what the internet have to offer, and I was pleasantly surprised. When I was making this, doing my own independent research, it finally kind of stuck with me that I was probably the only person around my age that knew this much. Sure, there was people out there, a couple of my friends even, who knew a whole heck of a lot about Pizza-Showtime, but I had formed this kind of kinship to the franchise. After going through all of this, I know the layout, the characters, the menu, even who works there, but not in a weird way, just in a I research a lot kind of way. Then suddenly I realized I'd be publishing this information. I wasn't gonna be special anymore. I wasn't gonna be the only one who knew all this information. Part of me felt sad about it, and selfishly I wanted to keep it to myself for a little bit. But then I remembered how I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all those individuals sharing their own personal stories and experiences with the world about this whole defunct franchise. It wasn't about being special, it was about sharing something that once brought so much joy to others and now can bring even more to everyone. When I was talking to the librarians about my research, they seemed so happy to hear about something from when they were young, like unearthing a kind of treasure or when you find a four-leaf clover. That kind of joy. I could never keep that from others. So yeah, despite everything, that feeling of being so special, I wanted more than anything for others to feel like that too. Who knows, maybe by me publishing this we can find out even more, especially where those animatronics got off to. During 1984, Pizza-Showtime closed its store. The animatronics were sold off, dismantled, and sent to Sydney. Pizza-Showtime, meant to be the first of many, however, became the lucky last. The company who owned it has moved on to greater things, mainly time zone. The building, which once was the Grand Theatre, was converted into an Asian food hall before being completely demolished in 1990, the only remaining part of it being the street called the Grand Theatre Street. We have no known footage of the animatronic band. Well, except for this one. Yeah, this was the only known footage we have of our beloved animatronics, and it's only Bert and Hector. I don't exactly know where this place is in the timeline, but I've heard a couple of people chuck around the idea that this was after the animatronics were sold off into some kind of, like, performing, traveling animatronic show with the rolling gnomes? It was actually pretty good. I'd pay to see it. This was also where people assumed the name Homer came from because they say, oh, this is Homer Bear. It's not, it's Hector. Put some respect on his name. And now you're probably all wondering, were they as good as Disney? It was clear they were on par with Chuck E. Cheese at least, but I'll let you decide that one, because I'm not doing more research and especially not into Disney, so I'm not gonna actually be able to make a claim or something. I will note I didn't do too much research on the YouTube side, because on the YouTube side of things, and I'm well aware there's another video already out there about this place, but I wanted to do my own work independent from that creator, so I only watched this video twice. Once a year ago, and then again in preparation for this video. I will link the video here if you want to check it out. Thank you for watching.